I got ready to get dressed this evening, and I put on this tie. And my wife said, "You're not going to wear that ugly tie." And I said, "I certainly am. Do you realize that this tie was the most expensive tie in the Goodwill store?" Mr. District Governor, past Governor Kerwin, past Governor Vandahar, current and past members of Toastmasters. Anybody could sneak in without paying. I joined Toastmasters in 1964. I didn't want to join Toastmasters. I had a lot of other things on my mind, chasing women and things like that. You know, fun things. But my boss said, "Look, I was an outside collector for the First National Bank at that time. I had to shake people down for their money and repossess their cars. So he said, you need to be a Toastmaster." At that time, I was living in Illinois, Club 994, that I'm sure many of you know who that is. A great club. And so he said, if you join, you'll probably be able to talk those people out of their money a lot easier. Well, I joined, but I can tell you it wasn't much easier. I still got the scars that came in. I mean, it's a tough job. But anyway, I did come over. I was in 994 for about 4 years. I even became president of that club. And I came over and moved to South County, and there wasn't any club in South County. I said, well, I'll see if I can get some people together and have a club. Well, the people that told me they were going to join, they all flanked out on me. They didn't show up. So I ended up joining the Jefferson County Club. Now, this isn't to be confused with the Jeffco Challengers Club. This was the predecessor of the Jeffco Challengers Club. And I was in that club for about 4 years, and I said, well, I think we're going to try to form another club now in South County. So I got some people together. I got the guy across the street from me. I got some people in church who put an ad in the paper. I ran into a guy by the name of Phil Vandahar. And I think he was in Webster Groves at that time. He'll tell us more about that. And he said, I think I'll help you start this club. So we finally got together in October of 1974, and we got 12 people together. Now, as most of you know, you can't start a club with 12 people. It took us a year to finally get 20 people together, and we chartered the South County Toastmasters Club at Ramada Inn at Highway 55 and Lindbergh. And you say, there is no Ramada Inn at Highway 55 in Lindbergh, but there was at that time. After we left, well, the place folded up. Then the Circuit City started there, and that folded up. I don't know, there's something about that area that might be a problem, whatever it is. So as Carl mentioned before, we found a good place to eat, a buck or two, right up my alley. You could actually eat there for a buck or two, and we had a room there besides. But unfortunately, the Godfather's Pizza, I don't think anybody liked that, Carl. They weren't happy with the pizza. Anyway, I think they folded too after we left. So we went over to the Holiday Inn at Highway 55 and Lindbergh. And we were there for a good while. But I would like to talk about some of the people who were at the charter members of the club, and there are 3 of them. I'm one. Phil, stand up. You're 2. Earl Ray, where are you? 3 of us are still alive. I think 2 are in jail, so they can do that. But anyway, those were the ones who 3 of us are still going that were there 35 years ago. Now, there is a program that most of you know about called the Distinguished Club Plan. And in those days, there was direct competition between clubs. And you build up a certain number of points, and you would be the best club in the district, or the worst club in the district, whatever it might be. And we were able to do quite well with our group. We had an enthusiastic group of people. And considering we started in 1975, in 1979, we were one of the top 10 clubs in Toastmasters International out of about 5,000, I think, at that time. I don't know if that was ever unheard of, but that quickly it was highly unusual. We had a president by the name of Nancy Kelly, who's since deceased, and Lynn Mignette was another gentleman who since moved out of town. And we all went up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, not all of us, but many of us, for the International Convention. Now you might say, well, that was a fluke that you could do that quickly. But in 1981, we did it again. We were once again the President's Top 5 Club. And at that time, we went to Philadelphia, and the club president, the two presidents, because we have presidents every 6 months, were none other, if you can believe this, Carl Hendrickson and Phil Vanderhaar. So, anyway, we went to Philadelphia that year and played 2 years later. Well, we rested for a while then. And until 1993, we did it again. We were number 5 in 1993 out of about 6,500 clubs. Mr. Governor can correct me on this if he will, but I guess it was close to that. And that was under the direction of Jack Patag and Jim Hurdle. Jack Patag, right here. I think Jim, I don't know where he is. So anyway, we did pretty well, but we saw that in the Toastmasters magazine in 1996, the International Convention was going to be in St. Louis. So we said, we're going to be loaded for bear when the International Convention comes to St. Louis. Now, the normal number of points that we were looking at, people were winning best club in the district with 11,000 points. The most we ever had, I think, was 30,000, the best club in the district, and we did that many, many times. So we said, and the club that had won the year before, that was in 1993, 94, had 45,000 points. So we said, we need to get at least 48,000 points to be able to be the President's top club of all, something like 8,000 clubs worldwide, but we're going to do it. So we started, and we had a guy who I wish was here tonight who gave us the motto, flight to the top. Big Dan Carcer was his name. Some of you will remember Dan. So we started, and we ended up with 72 members. And we were meeting at the Holiday Inn at the time, and we realized we couldn't possibly get enough points by having even 5 speakers speak a night. So we talked to the club, to the hotel, and they said, well, we can give you 2 rooms. So we had 10 speakers speaking every Wednesday night. And not only that, we had several extra Saturday events in which we had 10, I think Phil was involved with a couple of those. We had 10 or 12 speakers speaking there. So we ended up at the end of the year with 70,900 points. And considering the best club the year before had 45,000, we figured we're number 1. There could be no question about it. We were number 2. And there was a story about that I won't get into, but all I can say is we was robbed. But anyway, this club has a long record of excellence, and one of the reasons that we have been successful over the years, consistently 45, 50 plus clubs, and is because we do it by the book. We try to do things according to what the International says. We don't want any spotlight speeches. We want people to prepare, and we expect them to do that. And we had a good evaluation program, and it's worked pretty well. We've had any number of DTMs. Carl's a DTM, and certainly Phil's a DTM, past the district, top district member of the district. What do we call that? You were a
District Distinguished Toastmaster?
outstanding district Toastmaster. I even did that, if you can believe that. But anyway, the older I get, the tougher it is for me to remember things. As I told somebody, I spent half my time looking for my wallet, my car keys. But anyway, you will note behind me that we have 9 little round jobs there. Whatever you want to call it.
Jobs.
We're not women.
Thanks.
Still corrects me all the time. He's been doing it for 100 years. But anyway, those 9 represent 9 clubs that we founded. And the way we founded them was, the reason we founded them, number one reason was that you had to have a club to get a DTM. And we've had any number of DTMs. I think Jackie was a DTM, Carl's a DTM, Phil's was a DTM, and who else do we have, Carl? Got any other DTMs? Oh yeah. Jim Noonan, who was a division governor, and Jim Sally. And the 2 people who led us to that number 2 spot, I'd like them to stand up. One is Jim Sally. Stand up, Jim. And the other one is Paul Edward. Where are you, Paul? Those were the 2 guys who led us to number 2, and we should have been number 1 because we were robbed. But in any event, that's kind of the story. If anybody else wants to go, I can go on for God knows how long about all this. But that's kind of the crux of it. And we're proud to be a member of this club, and hopefully it's continued on. And as you can see, we've got a number of distinguished club ribbons up here. And one of the things I would like to mention, though, before I sit down, and I guess most of you say, when is he going to sit down? When we did not win number 1, I wrote to the international president and I said, there's a club out there that's got 125 members. They were number 1. How can a club possibly accommodate, how can one club possibly accommodate 125 members? And after that, shortly thereafter, there were no longer the competition for points kind of dissolved, and once you got enough points, you were a President's Distinguished Club. But we did not compete that way any longer after that. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what happened. And at this time, I will relinquish control of the lectern to our Toastmaster, Carl Hendrickson.